Hey everybody, we are on screen, off screen. I am back. Sorry, I was off last week. I was sick and my voice was it's pretty terrible. So, we got some good topics this week. How about we start off with your first one, Josh?
My first one is Red One, the new Christmas movie
Didn't that come
with
out like a
Dwayne The
week
Rock
ago?
Johnson, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons. Really enjoyed this. Actually, it's just another one of these like Die Hard-esque Christmas movies. Uh, but if you consider this a Christmas movie, you have to consider Die Hard a movie because the plot is the same. Just instead of saving Santa Claus, you're saving Christmas in Die Hard. But very enjoyable. J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus gets kidnapped, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Santa's bodyguard. He has to team up with Chris Evans, the con artist, and go save Christmas. Has a few laughs along the way. They did a really good job, but honestly, my favorite part about this movie is the fact that they implemented other Christmas stories. So,
Like,
J.K. Simmons, Santa Claus, has an adopted brother that is Krampus,
that's awesome.
the Nordic one, and the villain of the show is Grilla, whatever you say, the like Christmas witch.
Oh, cool.
you know? So they implemented the other Santa stories, and just so happens that because the traditional Santa is the most popular one, he's the most powerful one. And so that's why the other ones want to get involved and that kind of stuff. Uh, it's not a perfect movie. They try and do this whole plot where Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the 600-year-old Christmas elf, is giving up on Christmas because adults are too greedy and terrible. And then because Chris Evans gives up on his Scroogeness, it leads him to believe in Christmas again. And it's kind of just like a side plot, honestly. Like, it's the main motivator for everything, but it's still just like a side plot. It's treated like a side plot. So it's not a perfect movie by any means, but it's enjoyable and it has a couple of laughs along the way.
Oh man, I had heard honestly not very good things. I was gonna skip this one completely, but I would give it a try. Um, what would you rate it? 1 out of 10.
IMDb has it as a 6. I would give it like a 7, right?
Okay.
Because it could be funnier. Dwayne The Rock Johnson does better in other things, right? Like, it's not his best movie. It's not even his best Netflix movie. I'd still rather watch Red Notice than Red One. But I am glad that I watched it.
Okay. Cool. I will definitely check that one out. Yeah, you're the only person I've heard say good things about this movie, like at all.
Everybody else is like negative Nellies, I guess. Like,
I feel like
there's not any good reason to dislike this movie. Like, yeah, it's not great and it doesn't do anything new and the
this is
jokes aren't
Dwayne The
great
Rock
and it's
Johnson.
super predictable because it's a Christmas movie, which makes like they're all super predictable.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, there's nothing to be like hooray, hooray about with this movie. But there's nothing wrong with just enjoying it either. You know?
No,
It's
there's
just
not.
just good.
Yeah, I think people are too. I think it's cool to hate on Dwayne The Rock Johnson right now, and he does the same thing every single time, and most of his movies are the same. But that doesn't mean they're bad. They can still
I
be
don't
highly
think
enjoyable.
I don't think that's necessarily fair. I don't think that he's the same in every single movie because I see some different stuff from him. Yeah, he's kind of an archetype at this point, but like he's not a bad actor. right?
No, not
Like
at all.
I would say his worst role is Moana.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think
Like,
it's the Scorpion King. I don't like the Scorpion King at all.
hey, that's fair. But like he's not in the movie enough for me to actually care or often remember that he was in it.
Yeah, and he's also pretty new in that. Like that was the start of his career.
Yeah. Well, he did the rundown first, but he nailed the rundown. So, oh, but like Jumanji's just enjoyable, right? Both of them, they're just good. No, they're not great. They're nothing new under the sun. They're not even the best, like, video game-ish kind of new world. Like, I think Ready Player One is a better movie,
I
but
think so too.
there's nothing wrong with just enjoying it. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. You know, it's just enjoyable. It's just good. He's never in anything terrible. He's never in anything that's so bad. And what I really love is I don't think I've ever really seen anything that is just filled with the stupid garbage either.
Yeah, that's true.
So like,
Is he in one with Kevin Hart? I feel like that one has garbage. A comedy. Central Intelligence, is that what's called?
Jumanji. Oh, Central Intelligence is a stupid movie, but like, I don't remember any obvious. Like, there very well might have been garbage scenes, but I don't remember any of them.
Okay.
So, it is what it is at that point. But
Cool, man.
I'll
I'll
no
check it
worries.
out.
It's yes.
My first topic is Pantheon's. There's only one season, but I found this show very, very, very interesting. It's an animated show about at the very beginning, you get introduced to the main girl, and her dad has recently died. He died from a disease. The company that he was working for was working on downloading human intelligence onto a computer so that you could live forever. And someone starts messaging and playing games with the daughter online, and there's little clues here that it might be the dad. And you're trying to figure out if it is. The dad was one of the first people that was uploaded, and you find out that there were more than just him. And the companies that are doing the uploading are trying to compete for the first company to really become commercially viable. And they go back and forth in very interesting ways. I think the writing is fantastic. The only problem I had with this show is that it feels like it's a little too long. You're dealing with a fairly heavy topic, and they don't give it enough time to breathe. It feels very, very rushed. At the very end of the show, I even was like, isn't there another episode? Is that it? Is it done? And they give it an ending, but I feel like there should be another episode to kind of close things out, if that makes sense. Great show.
So is it
Highly
long
recommend.
or is it too short?
Too short.
Okay.
It's one that I think could be longer. It's like 8 episodes, and I think that they legitimately at least have 10 episodes of material that they rush through.
Gotcha.
Really good show. Very smart. Very well written. Just a little too fast, to be completely honest.
So what kind of world is this? Like futuristic, or is this?
So this is like 5 years from now.
Right.
So we're just on the verge of this AI revolution, and the idea is that they figured out how to download the whole human brain. They're very close to our time.
Gotcha.
It's a cool show. I'd be interested in what you think. I've done a little bit of programming now, but you've done more than me, and they incorporate programming into the show quite a bit. And I'd be interested in how well they incorporate it. It seemed good to me, but you know more than I do.
Oh, I'll have to put it on my list and give it a shot. What's it on?
It was on Netflix.
Okay.
Give it a shot. It's a pretty quick watch. Okay, what is your number 2, man?
My topic is Dungeons and Daddies. I've been on my podcast binge now. I've put Epic the Musical aside, and I've now been doing podcasts again. And I'm up to the point where Tony has finally died.
Okay.
And I am on the Patreon, so I actually get to listen to their behind the scenes stuff. And apparently there's two camps of people. There's the pro Tony side, the rooting for Tony, liked him as a character. And there's the anti-Tony side. But both sides seem to be agreeing that they're happy he's dead. Because the death was so drawn out. Like, for me, there was like 4 episodes where he kept making death rolls and they kept being like, okay, we're going to give you another shot at it. He's like, I'll spend all my luck. And then they're like, okay, you have 0 HP, but we're not going to kill you yet because something, And I was like, no, your character died. Okay, he's dead. That is part of this system that you are playing. And sometimes you'll lose a good character. This time you lost a bad character. And I think you would agree that Tony was a bad character.
I would agree, yeah. I thought the whole Cat 9 Lives thing that they were trying to pull was kind of interesting. Before I watched who his new character was, I was honestly a little conflicted because I liked the Cat 9 Lives thing, and I was like, okay, maybe they can pull this out. But the new character is so awesome that I am so glad he's dead because I love this new character.
Okay, so you might have been a little bit more pro Tony than me, but I hated Tony. When they were joking around about him playing Santa Claus, I was like, please. Oh my gosh, that is so much better than Tony. Like, ugh.
Why did you hate Tony?
Because his whole personality was like renting out cars to teenagers so that the teenagers could like have sex in the cars. And I'm like, I'm not mad at that being like a character choice. It is, Dungeons and Daddies. But like, it was his whole personality. And I was like, could you shut up about the cars for just like 10 seconds, please? Like you could have other parts of it. Like my favorite part of his story was when they thought they killed him and they did the background thing and they started improving that he was a mafia child.
It was
turned
so
from
funny.
a cat thing, like, okay, he has dynamic. Where was this dynamic all along? Right? Like, I would have loved Tony if at the very beginning they caught him like licking on his hand like this. That's how they introduced him because they had planned that he had been a cat all along. I'm not mad that they improv that because that was funny, but his whole personality was this one thing. And then we had one episode where we actually got to know and liked Tony. And then 4 episodes where you're like, died already.
Just die.
Just move on. Okay? He's
like, this
dead.
Is 45 minutes times 4 of the exact same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Just kill him.
Yeah, just let him go. Like, it is not that hard. He's a stupid character. I don't think it was a good idea to start on. But so I'm glad that they're moving on. I'm very anti-Tony. But here's the other thing I have to say about Dungeons Daddies.
Okay.
And it's I have come to a conclusion.
All right.
Elon Musk has just bought Wizard of the Coast, which means he now owns Dungeons and Daddies. Or Dungeons and Dragons. That. He owns Magic the Gathering and Hasbro Games. He owns that encompassing thing.
I had no idea.
Which is great because honestly, Wizards of the Coast, you've been told dickwads about D&D.
For sure. They've been
But
assholes.
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
Call of Cthulhu is a better system than Dungeons and Dragons.
Why do you think that?
And everybody who's playing Dungeons and Dragons should switch over to Call of Cthulhu. Here's why I say that, okay? So in Dungeons and Dragons, you get to be a level 7 wizard, right?
Yep.
And you go into combat and you say, I'm going to roll to attack. I'm going to cast Eldritch Blast. So you grab your dice and you roll it. You roll your d20. You get a 13. You have a +5. So you get an 18 total, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great. That plus doesn't change very much with your levels. It's pretty much the same all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And so the probability of you hitting is only changed by what the DM does when he says, well, this character's AC is a 20, so you still missed. Because as you go up in levels,
So do
the
they.
AC and the difficulty to hit also increases.
That's interesting.
Okay. So in Call of Cthulhu, what I love about this system is everything is a D100 roll. And you say, I'm going to roll to hit this monster. And you roll and you have your own skill level. And you increase your skill level the more you put work into it, right? So if we're in a boxing match, this is how I'm thinking about, right? And I try and hit you, I can improve the ability to hit you without improving the damage that I do.
That's interesting. You're right.
Right? So it's a D100. Boom. I rolled. I got a success. Okay. Now,
and it increases the
depending
percentages
on
of
your
major success too.
Yeah. Now, depending on what level of success you did and like what your strength is, because increasing your strength would increase the damage, then you increase the damage that you do to said monster. So I like it because it feels more like separating out those skills, right? You can say, hey, you're really good at hitting somebody, but you don't do very much damage because you're weak and pathetic, right? You can say, oh, you're really good at spotting hidden, your chances of success increase without any other input based on what you do as a character and how you build it.
Very cool.
So to me, that's why it's so much better of a system. I like the addition of also like sanity, because you get to play with that a lot in a non-horror game. Probably not the most effective thing. But the other thing I really like is, I don't even know what they call it, but debuffs. So you can I'm the DM, I can give your character claustrophobia or arachnophobia, And so most of the time it won't impact you, but that time you have to go into the cave and fight the spider, that's something you have to play with, right? It's not something you can just ignore.
And do they just give you like your typical roll? You have to be under a 58. Now you have to be under a 40, something like that. Is that what it is?
So if you want to do the thing, right? Let's say you're in a dark cave, you're fighting the spider, you have both those debuffs, right? You're going to roll to hit, but then you're going to add 2 disadvantage dice.
Okay.
So you're going to subtract from what you rolled or add to what you rolled because you want to roll under. So add to what you rolled to your die to see if you do it, if you can overcome that fear. So it's got this built-in mechanic that says you can't avoid the fact that you have these debuffs, but it also gives you something to play with as a character. It's not often, at least in my experience in D&D, where the DM will initiate, hey, you have this flaw. And you have to figure out how to play with that. You have to figure out how to work around that. You have to figure out how to role play that. It happens from time to time. I'm not saying it doesn't. But usually it's like you're poisoned, or the most common one in D&D is like, hey, your character's been kidnapped and now you're a mimic. So you have to play somebody who knows most of what you know, but not everything you know. And stuff like that, which is good, but you can still do that in Call of Cthulhu. And I just think that that's a much better system to play with. Like if I were to run a campaign today, I would want to use the Call of Cthulhu system, modified a little bit because it's not really built for like combat and D&D stuff. And I am a fan of high fantasy. So I'd want to try and implement spell the magic system from D&D, but I like the rolling to success with a D100, trying to get under the number of your skill, and you increase the skill at your own will. I, the DM, don't just get to say, well, this character has a AC of 500, so the only way you're going to succeed is if you roll a natural 20. So that's what I have to say about that. I just think it's a better system.
That is cool. That seems like a better system to me. And it wouldn't be that hard to incorporate it in a high fantasy type setting. Like you could do the roll under 100 for shooting magic missile, or turn undead,
And then
whatever
you
it
just
is.
you just use the D&D damage is what you would do.
Yeah,
A 1d8 plus 4, whatever magic missile is. You can choose
that's
3
cool.
targets, and it would not be a super difficult thing to do. It might need some balancing as you're playing. You might find that some of the Call of Cthulhu villains really aren't built to take that much damage or that little damage, so you have to tweak it. But normally when I'm a DM, I don't actually have a lot of that stuff planned out anyway. Like very often, I will say something like, we're going to fight this bad guy until this bad guy downs one of your characters so that you know that things are real. And I'm just not going to tell you what their HP is until after that point. And that's just what we're going to do, unless they find like some super creative way to get out of it, So like the last session I was in, my group was confronting this vampire lord, and I was like, okay, this is a vampire lord, right? Been around for thousands of years. He's not going to take crap from nobody. These people, I'm going to down 2 of them before I'm probably just going to pull the vampire out and escape and let them turn into vampires and let this like internal conflict happen in the group between vampires and non-vampires, right? But one of the characters is like, oh, I'm an undead character or something, and so I'm going to mix it in with this potion, and then I'm going to pretend it's going to let it bite me, and then I'm going to shove the potion down its throat. I was like, okay, you got to roll for it. I was like, it's going to be pretty hard to do. I'll say like a AC 18, and she rolls a natural 20, and I'm like, well, you just dumped a poison bomb, holy water, dead blood thing down this vampire guy's throat. You killed him. You did it. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. So I mean, like, that stuff is gonna happen. I think that's fair. You give them I like rewarding that kind of creativity. So, good on them. But that's just how it is. Like I said, they might take some balancing and stuff, but I just think Call of Cthulhu is a better system.
Very cool. Very cool.
No.
Yeah, we should. Are you still playing D&D like online or anything?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, do you have a
Not
group
playing.
that would actually play? I would play online.
I'm not a fan of playing online.
Okay. Why not?
Because what tends to happen is I'm the DM and I'm running a session, right? And we are this group, and we're in a cave, and we're going for the loot, right? Very basic thing, right? And so, Conlon, it's your turn. So you do this. And then Susie says, okay, it's Conlon's turn. I'm going to get up and go get a drink or a snack, or my baby's crying, or my dog is yapping, or my neighbor knocked on the door, or whatever. And so you take your turn, and that's fine and dandy, and then we sit here and we wait for Susie to come back. Or we say, Susie's not here, she lost her turn, right? And then what ends up happening is like one person who tends to talk the loudest dominates the kind of group, and then the rest of them don't really feel involved. Like that happens in person. Like there seems to be one person who just like won't stop talking for 5 seconds or trying to talk to every last little NPC or whatever. And the rest of the group is sitting there like, can we move on, please? But it's just worse virtually because you can't just like tell them to
Have
shut
somebody
up
be
or
like, "Just go on."
or move on. It's virtual, so you just kind of sit there and wait for them to finish, and then so I'd be willing to try it, I guess. It just seems like it's a headache. And if I were to do it, I would probably try and lean towards wanting to be a player rather than a DM,
Okay.
just because I don't have to go through the stress of planning a session just to have half the people ignore me through it. But I mean, I guess I would be open to that too if people were like, hey, we really want to hop on. We're going to be committed. We're always going to be on the second Tuesday of every month for sure. And you can plan on that. We're not going to just bail on it all the time,
Yeah.
And we love your idea of running Call of Cthulhu mixed with D&D. We want to see how that works. Let's just try it for, 4 sessions and see what happens. We'll see how it goes, Then I'd be like, okay, I can do my traditional thing where I plan a short campaign that can be extended into a long campaign. But if it's not working, I have no problem with the player saying like, it's not working. Let's just stop. Let's try something else. So
Cool. Come on. Well, you'll have to tell me when you catch up on Dungeons and Daddies completely, because I think you're gonna love the new guy.
well, should be this week. I mean, I caught the end credit scene where they introduced him.
Awesome.
And I'm on the very next episode. Well, I'm on the Talking Dads episode where they are talking about the episode where he did. That's where I'm at.
I think there's one episode more, and then I think it's the episode after that he's actually brought in, but I could be wrong. It's pretty awesome. You'll like it. Yeah. My second topic is a book, The Fish That Ate the Well. I found this book unbelievably fascinating. It's based on a true story. It's a guy whose name is Samuel Zamuri. He's a self-made banana mogul who grew up in New Orleans and kind of made that his home. He became one of the richest people in the entire world. And he takes on the United Foods was the company. And at the time, United Foods basically owned the shipping rights to most of the eastern United States. And he is this little guy who decides that he wants to do bigger things. So he gets involved in the banana trade and starts owning his own business and growing this plantation. He is in Guatemala, and he starts buying more and more banana land and plants more and more bananas. He develops his own railway system. He develops a way of watering these bananas. I didn't know this, but bananas are actually an herb. They're technically a berry, and a banana in the right condition can grow 20 inches in 24 hours if there's enough water and enough sunlight. Very cool. If you get a banana to grow correctly, it can last for a very, very long time. Like you can get bananas off of that tree, 3 bunches of bananas for 20 years off of that one tree. But because every single banana is a copy, because it's an herb, of other bananas, during that time, everybody had the exact same strain of bananas. And in the United States, everybody was buying this exact same strain. They're called Big Mikes. And there was a sickness that hit Big Mikes and was wiping out all of these genetically the same plants. And he had to figure out how to switch to a different banana. And he's basically the reason that we have the Cavendish today. I didn't know that there were so many different banana strains. There are over 500. There is a banana that's supposed to taste like vanilla ice cream that I really want to try. But he takes on this huge, huge corporation, like Google-sized corporation that controls absolutely everything. They control shipping in the United States for food. They control the banana trade. They've expanded into these different groups, and he starts to take them on. This disease happens, and he's able to plant these different kind of bananas and shift. He's able to change the way that he's shipping the bananas. That gets it so he gets more fresh bananas to the United States. He changes the way that he markets bananas so that he can market them when they're fresh or when they're ripe, when they're pre-ripe, when they're overripe. And he's the reason that we kind of have banana bread today. He does all these different things, and he gets into a good position. This spoils a lot of the book, but he gets into a good position, and then there's such a war. He puts the United States is going to take over the country that he's mainly working out of, and he stages a revolt with the people of the country that he's in against the United States, and basically start something that they call the Banana Wars with the United States of America. And he is fighting against the United States, and eventually it comes to a draw where he, at that time, has an army that is one of the biggest armies in the entire world, and he controls, I think it was 70% of this country, of the land of this country. He's basically become a ruler of a country by doing this banana war. He's such a big, prevalent personality down in South America that the United Foods has to make some kind of concession because they can't compete anymore. So the United States brokers a deal with this guy who's known as the Banana King to merge the two companies together. Part of the writing is that he can't be a leader and a voice inside of this company anymore. He just gets to have the shares. The Great Depression hits, and this company is going under. They're struggling massively over and over again. He goes to the stockholders on the board, and he buys them out to where he gets 51% and outs the entire company. And the company that was the king, he becomes the CEO of and explodes the company. It's a cool story. It's a book that I would highly recommend to everybody. It's the book that I bought my dad for Christmas because I thought it was so good. And it's definitely worth a read. Absolutely fascinating.
It sounds like my kind of book. I'm going to put it on my list. It actually reminds me of a book that I recommended to you. Rivals, Frenemies Who Changed the World.
Yeah,
I think
I
you read
ended
the
up reading
first
it.
one.
Yeah.
So just for our listeners, there are actually 5 books in this series. I have read one of them so far. I'm really excited to read more. But the first book is about how paleontology, it became paleontology. And it's basically because these two scientists started killing each other over these fossils. And because of all the chaos around it, the world started to take notice, and they're like, well, maybe we should care about these things too, and all that kind of stuff. But they also talk about like Adidas versus Puma and how their rivalry actually caused them to explode. And it was actually two brothers running these two companies right across the river from each other, But the other
cool
ones
story.
I'm very excited for. So Rivals 2, More Frenemies Who Changed the World. I think that's got to be good. But the other one is called Pirates, Scoundrels Who Shook the World, Spies, and the newest one is called Vikings. So I'm excited to see more of that stuff. I'm a history guy, so these kinds of things are on there. So The Fish That Ate the Whale, I'm going to put it on my list right now.
I think
actually,
you will love it, man. I read it in 2 days because it sucked me in. I think you'll love it. All right, man. What is your number 3?
My next topic is a short topic. Should go through it pretty quickly. But have you heard of The Pretty Reckless?
I love The Pretty Reckless.
Have you heard of Cindy Lou Who?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that wild what you're about to say?
Yep, Cindy Lou Who is the main singer for this metal band, The Pretty Reckless. And for me, and I imagine a lot of people, you'd think, I've never heard of that band. I've never heard any of their songs. Ironically, the first like number one hit that they have with the most views, I had not heard before. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay. I have no idea. But the second and third one, I was like, oh yeah, I've definitely heard that before.
If you're into rock music, I bet you've heard them.
I'm not that into rock, but I've heard them. I'm pretty sure their second most popular song, whatever it is, or third, I don't remember which one, is in quite a few of those like teen dramas, One Tree Hill and
Have you
Friday
have you
Night
seen
Lights or whatever.
Gossip Girl?
I have not seen Gossip Girl, and I don't plan to watch Gossip Girl.
Cindy Lou Who, the main girl, is one of the members in Gossip Girl. He's the main guy's little sister. And I think that's why it's in all of these different shows.
Entirely possible. I saw the pictures that came out like 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever that was like, hey, this was Cindy Lou Who then. Look at her now. And I was like, oh, wow, she's quite the attractive goth girl, you know?
She's very attractive.
But that was the point to me. And it was never, look, she's the singer in a metal band. So that is wild to me. I mean, hats off to her. It's a great band. I love the band. They're on a list of, I would go to that concert, which for me is a very short list, especially when it comes to metal. I think she would be the only female singer metal on that list for me.
Have you heard of
I can't think
Hellstorm?
of what?
Hellstorm? Have you
Right?
listened to Hellstorm? Would you go to
No.
Hellstorm? No. Oh.
No.
They had a concert together, and I am so sad that I missed that. I would love that concert.
Hellstorm's good. And I wouldn't go to a concert for Hellstorm. I wouldn't avoid a concert because of Hellstorm. I mean, there's very few bands that I would go to a concert for. So, yeah.
I would definitely go see them. I think she is a fantastic singer. And if you watch her actually singing, she's just as good as recording, which I put a lot of weight into that. I think it's a big deal.
I do too. That's why I would put her in that list. There's too many singers in this day and age that don't sound as good live as they do recorded, which is fine. I'm not hating on that. It's just, I'm not going to go to your concert. I'll listen to your music when it sounds good. But I'm sorry, Ed Sheeran, I'm not going to pay to go to your concert either to hear a worse version of the song that I like. Right? And to be fair, that was my experience when we went to Shinedown. Shinedown was not nearly as good live as they do sound on record.
That's true. I wonder how much of that is just how old they are versus
I think for
actually
Shinedown
them.
particularly, it's a lot of what it is the songs that I like from Shinedown, most of them are older.
Yeah.
And that's the songs that they struggled on the most live was their older stuff because they just have changed. They have different sounds. And particularly when you're singing metal, it really strains your vocal cords a lot. So, like, I don't think less of them because it didn't quite hit like I was hoping for. But we also went and saw Falling in Reverse. And they were as good, if not better, live.
They were phenomenal.
So, it just kind of is what it is in this day and age. There's so much auto-tune. There's so much change. And, like, I don't hate on it like it's a bad thing. Like I said, that just means for me, your music is just going to be
Listen
while
to it
I'm driving
whatever.
through YouTube Music or Spotify or whatever I'm using. I don't get enough from my concert to go listen to a song that I like in a worse version to be there, and like live recordings have always been my like least favorite thing because I always think the singer doesn't even sound nearly as good. And why do I want to hear people's cheering voices over the music that I like?
Yeah, I like the energy. I've always liked the energy of a concert, but I get where you're coming from.
And like, I really want to stress this. please don't hate on me. I'm not saying that auto-tune is a bad thing or that people who don't use auto-tune are better. Like, I care that the music is good and that I enjoy it. Auto-tune it if you want to auto-tune it. I really don't care. If you don't, I'll hats off to you. It's impressive, but I don't care either way.
But it's more impressive when you go to a show and they sound as good. And it's even more impressive if they sound better. I think Falling in Reverse was probably as good. I can't think of the name of it. There's only one band I've ever gone to that I thought was better live. And I'll try to remember, but I can't remember right now.
Falling in Reverse was particularly better in I'm Not a Vampire.
They did a really good job with that.
Yeah. Because that was a song I never really listened to before, but leaving the concert and after the concert, that's the song that I was listening to on repeat after.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Very cool.
They did all my songs that I love from them, right? They did the Drug in Me Is. I wish they'd done the reimagined version. I don't really care. I'm happy they did either. They did a great job. But I'm Not a Vampire was a song that I was like, yeah, it's their song. Good for them. And now I'm like, it's their song. I freaking love this song. It's so good.
That's cool, man. That's very cool, Josh.
Okay,
that's cool.
Let's go to your next topic. It's the same as my topic. Okay. Let's see what you have to say about it.
I freaking love this show. Secret Level, it dropped on Prime. I think it's been around for like 2 or 3 weeks. So Unreal Tournament is a game that I played a ton when I was a kid. If there was a game ever in my life that I was good enough that I could have probably gone pro, it was Unreal Tournament. And that was before pro was really a thing. But I was freaking good at this game, and I've played thousands of hours of it. When I saw that episode 4 was Unreal Tournament, I lost my freaking mind. And on the last part of that episode, which is my favorite episode of the whole series so far, it probably will be my favorite episode ever. The last map was the map that I dominated on. I played that map over and over and over again, and I would snipe suckers no matter where they were, and I was good at it. And when they actually had that map there, I literally jumped in the air. I was geeking out so hard. I never in my life would have thought they would do Unreal Tournament. I liked the story that they did for that one. I freaking loved it. But all the episodes have been good. I really liked the Sifu episode a lot. The Warhammer one was really good. The 40K one. My least favorite episode was the one with Schwarzenegger, the King one. I actually don't know what game that's from, but even that one I really enjoyed. I think it's fantastic. What about you?
Have you seen all of the released episodes? Because I'm only halfway through.
I think so. Let me look at it quick.
Because they dropped their new episodes earlier this week. Because I thought I had been caught up, and then I was looking at it yesterday, and there was like 10 more episodes.
So let's see what we got.
There's like 20 episodes now instead of 10.
I am not all the way caught up. I have watched... I've watched all but 2 of them. I haven't seen the Crossfire, and I haven't seen Armored Core.
Okay, so you're further ahead of me. Hold on. I've seen Armored Core. Yeah, there's 15 episodes. Armored Core is episode
8. It's the last one that was released, at least.
No, they're up to episode 15 now.
It's the 17th, so they just released everything else today.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the last 2 episodes that were released before today.
Well, we're in the same spot then. I have not seen Outer Worlds and Beyond. I haven't seen Megamind or Exodus. Oh. Here's what I have to say. This is the best advertising these games have ever had.
For sure.
Nothing has ever wanted me to play made me want to play Sifu more than the Sifu episode.
It's awesome, and I love Sifu.
I immediately went to check to see if you were sharing it in your Steam library so that I could play it. That's how much I liked the Sifu episode.
It's on my PlayStation. It's the one I played there.
Which is fine. It doesn't really matter. But like that's what I view this as, it was advertising. Because these episodes are basically just 10 to 15-minute trailers of some of the best B games out there.
I agree.
I don't think there's any A or S tier games on this list of shows that got it, but B or tier games, it seems like that's just what they have. I wish a couple of A tier games would have gone for it, because maybe then I would have recognized a little bit more of them. But I have to say, I am most impressed with the one I was most expecting released from, and that was the Pac-Man episode.
It was great.
It was so good. That is my favorite episode. It was the Pac-Man episode, and it, unlike the other ones, it doesn't feel like Pac-Man the game at all.
No.
So, when I saw Pac-Man, I was like, oh, yeah, there it is. There's going to be a giant ball running through a maze the whole time. But instead, it feels like it's like the pre-Pac-Man, right? It's just before Pac-Man enters the maze. And it's this just like dark and creepy and gruesome story about this guy who's trapped, who got this robot telling him that he's hungry and that he just has to eat and eat. Anyway, the animation was great. The feeling, the like atmosphere that they put into it was great. When I watched the first episode, I didn't know what I was looking at, honestly. I clicked on secret level and played because it was suggested. Why not? And it started with this Dungeons and Dragons thing, and I thought to myself, this feels like a Dungeons and Dragons game. I wonder what this is going to be. And then the second episode happened, and I was, what happened to all the Dungeons and Dragons characters? What is going on? And then that's when I was like, oh, these are for, like, they're not tied to each other at all. These are just trailers for games that are so high quality and so good.
I think it's made by the same people as Love, Death, and Robots. I'm pretty sure.
I have no idea, but there are a lot of Love, Death, and Robots that I like. This one is more consistently better. There are a number of Love, Death, and Robot episodes that I'm like, that was boring. I don't care. That was bad animation. This one's just really consistently good.
I completely agree. Do you think any of these hit the highs of the best of Love, Death, and Robots? I love Unreal Tournament, but that's because of nostalgia, and I think it is a good episode. Do you think any of them are as good as the best Love, Death, and Robots?
No.
No? Okay.
Simply because Love, Death, and Robots is its own thing, and I honestly view these as game trailers.
Okay.
So beyond saying like, hey, this was cool, you should check it out, I'm not going to do it. These aren't even the best game trailers.
I was thinking about that too. And besides the Knights of the Old Republic MMO game, which has my favorite trailers of all time, period. Some of those are so cool. I can't think of anything better.
Blizzard. Old Blizzard.
Old Blizzard does have some cool stuff, for sure.
And you have to give a lot of credit to Old Blizzard, because like when Brood War is coming out, that trailer still looks amazing today. Not the best you've ever seen, but it still looks really pretty good. And it's 25 years later, 20 years later. I don't know when it came out. I'm assuming 99, 2000s time.
It's been a long, long time.
But it's been a long time, and it still holds up. And look at all those StarCraft 2 trailers and cutscenes.
They're great.
Like, for me, it would go, you got the Old Republic and them all. because that is just S tier. If you're talking about
It's
game trailer
the best.
cinematics, that is the one and only S tier.
I agree.
And then I would give Blizzard an A+, and I would give Secret Level an A.
Okay. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So they'd technically both be A tier, but I would just make sure that I nudge Blizzard, old
just
Blizzard,
a little bit
old
over.
Blizzard. I want to emphasize old Blizzard. Old Blizzard, just ahead of it. And the Soul A+ area. And then there's probably a few other A tiers, but most game trailers fall in like B and C tier stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I was thinking about this after I watched it. I think Sifu is my second favorite Souls-like, behind Bloodborne. I have to think about that a little bit more, but right now, I think I would say that. I think it's my second favorite. There is no game that has ever made me feel more like a badass than Sifu, ever.
That's fair. I think we need to define what Soul-like really is, because
Really
I don't count Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Elden Ring as Souls-like.
Okay.
Because they're not like, they are.
They are Souls. Okay. I was including
they are
that.
Souls-born games.
I was including that in Souls-like, but Souls-born games, if that's what we want to call it, I think it's probably my second favorite behind Bloodborne.
I think there's a differentiation, right? So Soulsborne is the Dark Souls games, Demon Souls, Sekiro, Elden Ring, Bloodborne. That's it. That's all of them. There's no other Soulsborne games, because those are the only FromSoft games. Then you have Soul-likes, and you would introduce like Star Wars Jedi Survivors, a game I absolutely loved. Hollow Knight, Sifu, all these other games. So if we're talking about like Soul-likes, I would go Hollow Knight. Probably Jedi Survivor, honestly. I loved that game.
I need to play that game with how much
really,
I love it.
Really good game. It was so fun. I had a great time with it. Like that is one of the games that I was like, mods, let's go. I want to do a run through where I'm Darth Maul. Heck yeah, let's go. Not many games do that for me. New Game Plus, bring it on. I didn't actually do it, but as one that I wanted to,
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I am playing Hollow Knight right now, and I think I'm going to add it to next week's stuff. I really, really like it now, but I strongly, strongly believe that these side-scroller games should start with a dash. When I got the dash ability, the game became infinitely more fun to me. I was kind of like, it's fine. The dash ability changed everything and made it so much more enjoyable.
All right. Well, we'll save my comments on that for next week, because you're just wrong. What do you got next?
All right, man. Next one. True Detective, Season 1. This show is brilliant, and you should watch this show. I have never felt like the writers, like they chose an actor and then the writers wrote a script for that actor, which I know sounds like a bad thing, but Matthew McConaughey is this character. And they wrote it for, they had to write it for Matthew McConaughey. He acts it so well. Everything about the character just feels like him. The dialogue is fantastic. The mystery is fantastic. There's some sexual components that I wish weren't in it, because they could have just faded to black, but it's important to the character development. The tone is really good. They take their time with the story. They let it breathe, but it doesn't feel boring. I thought this show was phenomenal.
Well, give me a brief synopsis. What is it even about?
Brief synopsis. There is a serial killer that is leaving pagan ritual type things with dead bodies, and two detectives come together. Matthew McConaughey and what is the other guy's name? Second. detective. The guy who plays in Zombieland, he's the Twinkie dude. I actually really like his stuff.
Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody.
Woody Harrelson.
And I think it's one of his best roles too. He acts this extremely well also. The characters are very in-depth. There's a lot of shades of gray in it, but you understand where the characters come from in every aspect. And they're trying to solve this mystery that they have a hard time solving because the lies that each of them tell. And they have this dynamic where you're telling the story from two different points of view. The younger versions of them when the mystery first starts, and later on when they're trying to actually solve it. It's like 10 years later. And the characters, you have them play the older versions of themselves and the younger versions, and they're starkly different, but they're also you can tell they're the same character. And they do a very good job of seeing how this life has weighed down on them and how it changes who they are. Particularly McConaughey does an insanely good job with this. And it requires a lot from each character to be able to solve this mystery. You see the way that it weighs down on their families. You see the way it weighs down on their health, and the way that lies hurt them and hurt their families along the way and keep them from actually solving this mystery and actually getting justice for these women. I think the way they incorporate lies in the show is frankly brilliant.
Fergus. I put it on my list. I like Matthew McConaughey.
I think it's his best role.
That's a lot.
I would say
That's a lot.
I think it's his best role. He's very good.
For me, that's Lincoln Lawyer, so we're going to see.
He's really good in Lincoln Lawyer, but he's amazing in this show.
Gonna see. I also like him in the one where he plays the drug lord. I don't remember what it's called.
I don't think there's anything that I've seen him in that I don't like, but to be completely honest, I think he does a good job in everything. But he's so good in this. You will like it.
All right.
All right. What is your number 4?
My next topic is Carry On. It is what's his name? Taron Egerton movie.
Yeah.
The new Christmas one that just came out on Netflix. It also has, oh my gosh, I just closed it. Sorry. Jason Bateman in it and Dean Norris. And Dean Norris is whatever. You would care because he's, stupid drug guy, but
from Breaking Bad.
Yeah. But Jason Bateman is not an actor I had ever really loved and usually dislike. I don't like Arrested Development. Tag is no, not Tag. What's his?
I actually think Tag's
Game
good.
Night.
Is he in Tag? Oh, Game Night is. I love Game Night. I genuinely
Game Night
love
is
Game
just
Night.
fine. It's a fine movie. Oh, that I don't hate it is just fine. So he's a very hit and miss actor for me, but man, he nailed this. This was his role. He did a phenomenal job in this movie.
I agree.
And Taron Egerton is now on my super underrated actors list.
He is in the top 5 for me.
Because Kingsman movies, I liked all 3. I understand some people didn't love the prequel. You do you. This blew my mind. He is the gorilla in Sing.
Really?
Yep. And he sings the parts.
That's very cool.
It's good. And then, super great movie, Tetris.
Tetris is fantastic.
Right. I'm sure there's some more stuff that he has done.
One of my favorite shows of all time.
How's it?
And he is great in it.
But he is really nailing it over the last 5 years.
He's really good.
he deserves it. He recently did an interview where he talked about how he'd like to do another Kingsman movie.
That'd be sweet.
Please greenlight that, Hollywood. I don't ask so much from you because I have such low expectations. But Hollywood, give me this one, please. I like the Kingsman movies. They're great. I like Taron Egerton. I like his idea where he kind of plays the mature spy and he, takes someone under his wing, Yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's a great movie. Very enjoyable. Super predictable for sure. Save for one detail at the end I didn't quite see coming. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll tell you what I think after.
I didn't quite predict. Spoiler warning for the next 5 seconds. I didn't predict that he was going to kill the Bateman character.
Me either.
That was the shock to me. But everybody did really well in this movie. Everybody did a great job. Bateman is the standout. Egerton is just Egerton doing a phenomenal job. Again, everybody else is just kind of like good in their roles. But I really liked it. It's another Die Hard Christmas movie. So you count this, count Die Hard, count this, whatever your rule is. If it counts as a Christmas movie or not, I don't really care. I count it because I count Die Hard. And this one was just good. I would rate this just slightly above Red One because it makes me feel the intensity a little bit more. It's less Christmassy, but you actually feel a little bit more tense watching it. Like they do a great job with the tension in this movie. And so I really like it.
No, I completely agree. The acting is fantastic in this movie. I think the acting is super good. I think the writing in this movie is real rough. I kept looking at it. I was like, there are so many stupid plot holes in this. And it's very much a ripoff of Die Hard 2, if you've seen Die Hard 2. I like Die Hard 2. But in Die Hard 2, they have a hostage situation that kind of makes sense for why everything is happening. In this one, there's a part where the girlfriend has the laser dot on her head. And I'm like, nobody is seeing this? And there's a truck. There's so much security in this airport. And there is a truck right there with somebody who has a sniper sticking out the window. Are you kidding me? Stupid. The whole guy from Breaking Bad dies in the room, and there's usually 2 officers in a room. There's not 2 officers in this room for some reason, I guess. And he just kind of busts in. The main character can go around the airport all he wants, even though he's known as kind of a troublemaker and a loser. He's a troublemaker and a loser, but he can do all of these skills. He's a little bit of a Mary Sue, in my opinion. He can do all of these things, and all of a sudden he's super efficient with everything. The gunshot goes off in the airport, and they keep the airport going. They know that there's a toxic nerve agent that literally can kill everybody, and they don't shut down the airport. Are you out of your mind kidding me? Bullshit. No. I know you need to keep Christmas traffic going, but absolutely no way. The FBI gets involved, and they don't shut down the airport. No. Stupid. Not gonna happen. There was just a lot of plot holes. Was it an entertaining movie? Sure. But it's a pretty dumb movie. There's a lot of stupid in this movie.
I'm going to have to fight you on all of that, honestly.
Okay.
So, the first point. Gun in the van in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Do you know how easy that is to do?
If they wouldn't have stuck the barrel out the window, sure. But when they stuck the barrel out the window, I was like, that's so stupid.
I don't think it crosses that line at all. Because guess what? People are minding their own business. Nobody's really paying attention to anything, especially in this day and age. Which leads me into my next point. Nobody notices the red dot. Yeah, nobody's going to notice that. Almost guaranteed nobody would notice that. And if somebody did, I bet somebody was like, oh, somebody's got a laser pointer. Hope they don't burn someone's eye and marry in their own way.
With how much security airports have, nobody noticed this car with a gun out the window.
Again, from the parking lot. Right? If it was actually in the airport, like I have a bigger problem with the fact that he snuck a plastic gun in.
Also dumb.
Than the gun in the van, and because you can just go to an airport and park in the parking lot. Nobody is going to stop you. You can take a bazooka and a bomb in a van to a parking lot at an airport. Nobody is going to stop you. Nobody's going to check your car. Nobody's going to look twice at you. So I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I also don't have a big problem with the laser dot. Yes, somebody could have seen it. Also, I buy. Everybody was looking at their own phones, and nobody saw it, you know?
Okay.
2 officers is a rule. My understanding is TSA has a rule 2 officers have to be involved if they're searching a person, not necessarily a bag, because it was just a bag check. Still, there probably should have been 2 officers. Also, it was a supervisor, not just 2 regular officers. I don't know. I don't really care too much. Yes, it's probably a plot hole, but it built the tension of revealing that both of them were kind of being manipulated. And when Jason Bateman was saying kill him, he was talking to both of them. You know? Which, to me, was not like a giant surprise, but I was a little surprised with it. Mostly because they were trusting this guy with the nerve gas. You know? Was it super predictable when Jason Bateman made Taron Egerton disarm the bomb that somehow it would be in a situation where he would have to disarm the bomb again? And how coincidental it is that you, the villain, taught him how to do this? Yes, absolutely. It is incredibly stupid. That, to me, is the biggest issue I have with it.
Yeah.
That the second I saw Jason Bateman say, you're going to do it, and I'm going to talk you through how to do it, I was like, okay. So the bomb is going to get somewhere else, and Taron Egerton is going to have to disarm it again, but he knows how now, you know. For sure, the biggest thing. And funeral point, I'm just going to go really quick. This one's a quick one.
Yeah.
I think they actually did an adequate job of explaining it because they didn't know about the nerve gas until the very end of the movie. And when they did find out about it, they decided that the plane needed to be in the air because rather 250 lives than the lives of everybody in the airport. So, would that really happen in real life? No. Is it within suspension of disbelief for a movie? Sure.
Okay. I think those are good thought processes. I have a couple other things. One, when the FBI and all the cops show up, they would probably want to talk to the supervisor, but the supervisor is dead. Maybe that might bring up some alarms. Just possibility. I still think there's the whole gunshot thing. I think somebody would have heard that for sure. Even if it's I just think someone would have heard it. The sniper sticking out of the window, we'll push that aside. But he happens to be in the perfect spot to be able to shoot her in a giant airport. They just happen to be standing in this one spot in the airport where they can shoot her in the head. Very dumb. The end where you knew that he was going to pull out.
Can I argue these one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. So would somebody heard the gunshot? Not really sure which one you're talking. You're talking about with the plastic gun?
Plastic gun, and then the plastic gun is the one I'm talking about.
The one where they're in the machine room. It's really loud. Yes. That nobody else is in because it's all automated, and they explained that.
I feel like there was another one too, but maybe
He shot in the bathroom as well.
Yeah,
he shot the thing in the bathroom. Again, I'm not too experienced with airports, but you know, depending on the time, I guess it was busy hour. Yeah, somebody else probably would have been in there. I don't really care. Would they go for the supervisor? Yes, that's what they did in the movie. That's literally what they did. They said, where's the supervisor? Where's this kid? Oh, I saw this kid go down this way. oh, he's the suspect. Let's go talk to him, and then we'll find the super. Sure, why not? Like,
Okay.
you know, fine. Like, it's not like they would put aside going after their suspect to talk to a supervisor for 5 seconds. You know,
I think they would split off into groups to do both, but
yeah, but it's
yeah.
you know,
It's not terrible. Not
it's
terrible.
within reach. It is not accurate for sure, but it's within the reach when you're talking about suspension of disbelief. Next point.
The next point was that she happened to be standing in the exact spot where he had a van to be able to shoot her at the perfect time to be able to shoot her, which is dumb.
Right. Except they knew what her job was. They were tracking her on cameras. They had all the layout. They knew the whole plans. So did they plan to park there and be able to shoot her? No, but this was the tech guy who knew where she was, so he would know where to park.
Yeah, but the likelihood that she would be at that perfect side where there's a window instead of somewhere inside of the building.
The whole thing is a window.
Yeah. That whole side of the building is a window.
The whole side of the building is a window.
Yeah, but wouldn't she be inside of an office or towards
no,
the middle
he's
or
tracking her
on the
camera.
side or on the side of the building where the planes are, where she's probably on the inside of security since that's her job?
No, she's not in security. She manages the bag check girls at the front. That's what she's doing when this happens.
I didn't think that was what she was in. Is that what she's in?
Yeah.
Okay,
She works
I missed
for
that
the
detail.
airline, not for security.
I thought she worked as something, not security, as one of the regional head people for one of the airlines,
No, she's
which
just
I
a
think
manager.
should be in an office.
She's the
Just
supervisor
a basic
or manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought she
And
was a bigger deal
even
than
if
that.
she was like a VP or whatever, if her office was on site, I bet for the busiest day, they're still out there helping.
It depends on how high she is, but if she's just a manager,
Yeah.
probably. I'll give it that. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one that I was like, and this all sounds like I hate this movie. I was kind of entertained, but I don't think it's great because there are some things that I think were writing crazies. You have 2 vials of stuff, and normally when you have a chemical reaction, it requires both of those vials to mix together to have the chemical reaction. But you take the vial out and you put it inside of the lock room at the very end, and the guy dies, or the guy gets melted because he's in there with the one vial. But my assumption would be it would require both vials to actually have the chemical reaction that would cause him damage. That is an assumption. But
it would depend on the chemical reaction. I am not a chemist at all. In fact, I dropped out of chemistry to take physics because chemistry is stupid. But it would depend on the reaction, right? So my assumption in the movie is that they had both because the second one aerosolized the first one. So the first one we know is the super deadly virus. The second one is how you get it to explode and go throughout the plane to kill the senator.
That's fair. That could be the case.
So when he throws the one that's just the virus and just takes physical touch, because that's also how I explained why they let him get off the plane and everybody else off the plane. Because if it was dangerous aerosolized, everybody is staying on that plane until everybody is tested. Nobody gets off. Everybody get in for the long haul. You're stuck there for the next 2 weeks because we're not taking any chance. We're gonna fill you in a Ziploc bag because that's what we're gonna do.
We'll give you food, and that's all you're getting.
Yeah. So my assumption is that the virus itself requires physical touch, and the other chemical agent is to either spread it or aerosolize it so that it gets throughout the entire plane.
Okay.
And then
that's
because it wasn't
argument.
mixed with the aerosolized, yeah, sure, come off the plane. All of the virus is in this
one stored
fridge. And by the way, we're going to burn the plane down. So sucks to be you, airline. You're out of plane. But, that's fine with me. Like, I agree with you. They didn't really explain it. So could be a plot hole. Could be me looking for answers and just kind of making one up. But I'm fine with it too.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah, and maybe my hopes were a little high because if it was in it, I don't know. But there were some things with it that I was like,
Hey, that's fair. I'm not claiming that it's a great movie. I just think that the things that Taron Egerton's character does to try and catch the guy were extremely clever.
I do think that is something I did appreciate from the movie.
The intensity of the movie, they did a great job. All of the acting was really good.
All the acting is fantastic.
And so it was an enjoyable movie. Is it the greatest movie of all time? No. Am I going to watch this every Christmas? Also, probably not. Would I be opposed to somebody saying, like, hey, I really like this movie. You mind if I cut it off? Go for it. Instead, enjoy it.
If you can just have a good, fun, dumb time, I think it is an enjoyable movie. And the entire time I was watching it, I was like, I was like, I wish that I was just approaching this movie as just a dumb, fun movie instead of analyzing every plot hole that I could see. But I was on that track with my brain and I could not get off. So when you just watch it, just sit back and enjoy the movie. And I do think you would have a good time if you just sit back and enjoy the movie. I do.
You too. All right. What you got for us?
Right. Okay. Speaking of dumb things, I'm actually going to skip to one just because we were talking about dumb things. Did you actually finish Merry Gentleman? Did you finish that movie?
I don't know what it is.
That's the one with Chad and Michael Murray, the guy from One Tree Hill. I'm pretty sure that's the Hallmark movie that you watched, wasn't it?
No.
Oh,
I watched
okay.
Angel Falls, where he's an angel and he's trying to save Christmas spirit and falls in love with the girl, but then has to accept that he's an angel and she is a human being.
This movie is maybe worse. I don't know. The trailer doesn't tell you anything about this, but the main girl in the romance movie, she gets kicked out of the Snowballs, I think is what it's called. It's a dance group. It's basically the Rockettes in New York. And so she goes back home, and the trailer doesn't tell you that the thing that she does is try to save her parents' bar by making a Mel strip club, and Chad Michael Murray is a stripper. And Sid was watching this movie, and I was thinking this was the movie that you watched. And I was like, Josh might be a little gay. If he watched this alone, he might be a little gay. It's not a good movie. Chad Michael Murray and whoever the main girl is don't have any chemistry. The entire movie, I was like, why in the world would these two people get together? It doesn't make any sense. And then it doesn't tell you that it's about male strippers. Usually you have these wonderful lovey-dovey Hallmark movies, and this one is just like half of the movie is guys with six-packs dancing. It's terrible. It is a terrible movie.
Is it actually Hallmark or is it Hallmark adjacent?
It's Netflix Hallmark adjacent.
Okay.
But yeah. Terrible.
Probably not very
Terrible
good.
movie.
I never even saw the Matthew McConaughey, Channing Tatum stripper movie.
I didn't either. I don't think I did. I don't think I have.
So I will not be watching that.
Don't watch it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is
All right,
terrible.
my next topic is, I'm just going to go over my last two. They're kind of together. I just watched them back to back. Holiday movies for every year. The Holiday with Jack Black, an extremely attractive Jude Law, Cameron Diaz, and Kate Winslet. And this is just a feel-good Christmas love story every year. Highly recommend. It's a good one. Enjoy it.
I'll give it a try. I've never watched that one. I have watched your next one, and I like the next movie.
Well, it's again, it's not the best one ever. The Holiday, Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz swap lives. They do the house swap over Christmas because they're both single and they're both depressed and they both don't want to be home for the holidays.
Okay.
So they swap, and Cameron Diaz runs into Jude Law, who's Kate Winslet's brother, and Kate Winslet runs into Jack Black, which is Cameron Diaz's music person, because she makes trailers and he's like a movie musician person.
Okay.
So they're associated somehow. Anyway, doesn't really matter. The one romance you totally buy because it's Cameron Diaz and Jude Law. And I think Jude Law looks better in this movie than he ever has in any movie in ever. And then the other one you have Kate Winslet, Titanic, gorgeous, stunning.
And
Who's
Jack
this great
Black.
looking guy? And Jack Black, play the musician. And you're like,
That's funny, man.
dang. They also just like build the first romance better. The other one is kind of like just kind of happens at the end. But anyway, it's just good. It's enjoyable. It's a feel good Christmas movie. It's a feel good Christmas romance movie that isn't Hallmark. So yeah, the next one is one that I watch every year for the last 3 years for some reason, and every year I think to myself, why the heck did I waste my time watching this garbage? And that
Weird.
is
Okay.
Love Actually. Okay. It is a really famous one.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something about Love Actually. Every single one of those romances is bullshit.
I kind of agree. I still enjoy the movie, but I kind of agree.
Every single one of them is absolutely terrible.
Okay.
What do you have? The main one. You have Keira Knightley and douche face, and she leaves the black best friend because he holds up signs for her? Think so. Sorry. You're not just gonna dunk the guy you just married because you found out his best friend is in love with you. Nope. Not today. The only thing that you just did was ruin your friendship because they're not talking to you anymore. Okay? You have the best one, which is the little kid love story, where he's like, it's honestly my favorite line in the entire thing, which is when he's like, Liam Neeson's like, so tell me. And he's like, you really want to know? And Liam Neeson's like, yeah, I really want to know. And he's like, I'm in love. And Liam Neeson's like, oh, thank goodness. I thought it was something worse. And the little kid looks at him and goes, worse than the agonizing pain of love? And Liam Neeson's like, yeah, the agonizing pain of love. Best line in the entire thing. I can watch that scene all the time. It's great. But on the side, you have the sort of love story between the porn stars. They're not really porn stars. They're porn like placeholders. They're not actually doing it. They're just getting screening right.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Okay, why is this in here? And then why are they like? Anyway, it's just garbage. I'm not a fan of that kind of garbage in shows and movies. Don't need to see it. Move along. It's also just a weird romance.
So why do you keep watching it if you don't?
Because every year I forget. Every year I've forgotten. And every year everybody's like, oh, it's time for Love Actually again. And every year I turn it on and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this garbage song by this scumbag human that grows a heart and spends Christmas with his manager, who he'd spent the entire movie making fun of for being fat and lonely. Oh, what a great relationship they have. Glad he saved that one. Oh, do you have Professor Snape thinking about cheating on his wife? I don't even remember if he does or not. But it's still scummy.
Oh,
garbage. Absolute crap. I remember that, like, he got her a necklace and then the wife found it and thought it was for her. Doesn't matter. It's stupid, stupid, stupid. Why do people love this romance? It's garbage. Anybody who's standing out there like, oh, I wish somebody would do the sign thing for me like Keira Knightley got. Aim higher. That's garbage trash. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. It's terrible the way he treats the black best friend. It's terrible the way she leaves him for the other guy. It's just awful.
It was terrible.
Terrible. None of these relationships will last a year. None of
No.
them. They're all
Maybe-
terrible.
Is there some effect that makes you forget this movie? Because I kind of forgot about it until you start just talking about it. I was like, yeah, I like Love Actually. I like that movie. And I didn't remember a lot of this stuff.
I don't know what it is. Because, like, every year I watch it, and every year I'm like, it's awful. Why did people watch this garbage? But here we go. Next year's going to come around. And I'm going to be like, okay, Christmas time. Okay, everybody's watching Love Actually again. I guess I'll turn it on.
Put it on.
Just
That's funny, man.
find better Christmas movies. There's so many out there, people. You don't need to watch garbage.
Yeah, there's a lot. And even some of the Hallmark movies some of them are enjoyable. At least they're like wholesome, you know?
At least
Yeah.
take wholesome. I'll take wholesome. Please watch A Touchdown for Christmas or whatever it is, the Chiefs Love Story Christmas movie, and just enjoy it and stop watching trash, people.
Watch better stuff. Well, I'll quickly go through my last couple. We'll do AP Bio first. I'm ashamed that I like this show. Straight up. I don't want to admit that I like this show. This show is stupid. I know it's stupid, but I've, for some reason, really, really enjoy this dumb show.
What kind of
Basically-
stupid are we talking about?
It's like, it's a sitcom. It's a stupid sitcom. That's what it's like. I don't know what to compare it to. It's not The Office because it's not that style of sitcom, but it has that kind of humor, sort of. I think the main guy is from Arrested Development. It kind of has that going on for it too. But the main guy is a professor from Stanford that gets into a fight with an old man, and it goes viral, and he gets kicked out of Stanford. And a buddy who needs a teacher gives him a teaching job. And the person that ruined his life, he decided that he's not going to teach AP Bio. That's why it's called AP Bio. He's going to get his students to help him avenge himself and kick out this head of philosophy at Stanford or at Yale. And the entire show is about him trying to get revenge on the guy that ruined his life. And it is hilariously stupid. It's so dumb. I can't recommend it to everybody. If you like the first episode, you will probably like the show. If you think the first episode is terrible, you probably won't like the show because it's stupid. But I have a weirdly good time with it.
Okay.
The next one is Beverly Hills Cop 4. I'm a big fan of Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, and I was not expecting anything from this movie. I was very pleasantly surprised. It feels like the early movies. It has that same kind of vibe. They have this thing that I don't normally like, where they do like the Luke Skywalker effect, where you have this heroic younger guy who becomes a loser. Beverly Hills Cop, he's not a good dad, but the thing is, with the earlier character in 1 and 2, I believe that he actually could be a character who wouldn't be a good dad. He just focused on being the cop and being kind of the funny off the wall cop who makes things happen and gets things done. And I think that character could persist and not actually be a good dad. So it's one of the few movies where they keep the guy kind of being a joker like he was when he was younger, but I buy it and it works for me. I think I thought it was a good movie. Well done. And then my last thing is the first half of Wind and Truth. That is the 5th Stormlight book that came out last Friday, I believe. It hasn't been out for very long. I am expecting a lot from this book. Brandon Sanderson has his weaknesses. There's times where he info dumps just way too much. His comedy really is not very good. But he also plans out his stories very well. His worlds are incredible. He's good with pacing. And so far, the first half of the book, feels a lot more like build-up than I thought it was going to be. They've had 4 giant books to build this up, and I was expecting a little bit more end of the series, Brandon Sanderland kind of effect. And so far, we're still just kind of getting more build-up. It's well done build-up. Some of the reveals that they've revealed are quite good. But there's a lot of weaknesses that are showing in this book. He uses a lot more modern language, which I don't really like. He does a good job of making worlds feel flushed, and this book feels a little bit more like it's part of our world instead of something larger, if that makes sense. And I'm hoping the second half of the book delivers, because the rest of the story is so good. It's so fantastic. And the first half is not horrible, still pretty good, but not great either. It's just kind of above which is too bad.
Fair enough. I will not be reading that because I don't like Brandon Sanderson. But I think that does it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please continue to listen. Please like, follow, subscribe, send us money. Do all of the things that, YouTubers and listeners like doing. It'd be much appreciated.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye.